And I saw this guy. I thought, I recognize that guy. That's the YouTube guy I learned my tips from. And I was thinking, how the hell, what's going on here? And I looked at his name badge. I said, no, it can't be. He hasn't got his name. But I said, yeah, it is. He's got a fake name badge to get into E3 because he's not considered a journalist. He's not considered industry. Now the guys are running those shows.
Exactly.
But back then, they weren't even let in.
Yeah.
Because they were just kids in their bedroom making video and they were not recognized.
In this video, we talk with Liam Chivers. Liam is a highly successful talent manager and has pioneered YouTube and online influencer program in the UK. Since founding OP Talent in 2012, Liam has educated hundreds of global brands and entertainment companies on the value and best practices of brand marketing and content promotions. Liam has been instrumental in developing once unknown individuals into some of today's most powerful online influencers.
This is Creative Disruption, the intersection where entertainment, data, and creativity meet. Here's your hosts, Ricky Ray Butler and Derral Eves.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Derral Eves with the Creative Disruption, and I'm super excited to be here because I'm sitting by my friend, Ricky Ray Butler. How you doing, Ricky?
I'm doing great, and thank you for that loving intro. Again.
That's right. That's right, because we're friends. He's my cohort. But anyway, I'm really interested in disruption. I mean, that's what this podcast's all about. But there's nothing more disruptive in the entertainment industry than celebrity status. Wouldn't you say?
For sure.
Like when I was a kid.
It's totally different today.
Oh, it's 100%. Like when I was a kid, like I grew up like on the A-Team and Knight Rider. Oh, I mean, seriously, the A-Team was like the best. I mean, Mr. T. Did you love Mr. T?
Oh, yeah. I loved Mr. T. He was awesome.
Pity the Fool.
I loved his mohawk.
Oh, the mohawk, but it's the whole
You should get one like that.
No. But there's certain things that should never happen. I should never have a mohawk and wear a whole bunch of chains. You know, not at all.
I could pull it off.
But no, like I would say the dynamic of that celebrity status is really interesting, especially now. I think a lot of people are like A-list celebrities. They have the power, but you have individuals that wield more power like of celebrity than any A-list celebrity would. Right.
Well, today it's not about being able to act or being on a production. It's really about figuring out how to take that clout and that influence and diversify, the amount of income that you get, from that celebrity status.
Yeah. No, and what's fascinating is something actually happened here in the UK not too long ago. It was the KSI fight.
Oh yeah, up in Manchester. It was awesome.
Now you were there.
I was there.
Okay, so I have this theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm sure I heard it.
It was rigged, man. Like seriously, it's like, okay, we'll fight again. We didn't quite get there. Come on, a draw.
I see where you're coming from. However, anyone that makes that theory and makes that claim was watching it streaming.
Okay.
If you were there at the event, it was very real. Everyone was battling as hard as they could. You saw like the Jake Paul and Comedy Shorts Gamer fight. It was a real fight, and you could tell that none of them were experts in fighting.
Okay, because I've seen a lot of fights in my life.
Yes, I have as well. I'm a huge UFC fan. I used to watch a lot of boxing back in the day.
That looked like a sparring match.
It was a sparring match for sure. But Logan and KSI wanted to kill each other.
Yeah, and
they were both really going at it, and it was equal. Like Logan Paul is like way bigger than the guy, but KSI was trained, and so you had that balance. And everyone's thought, oh, it's a draw. It was fake, and they want to do it again. No, I think if one of them won, it would have been even a better duel for the next fight. It would have probably made a better story for it as well.
I am not buying it.
No, I'll try. So I was very close to ringside. And when you hear the punches, when it actually connects, and you see the real reactions that they're both having, it's much different. My wife and we had a couple of friends there. We all bought in. We all think it was real.
Okay. Well, I'll let you have your theory in this magical in this magical world.
Mine is fact. Yours is theory.
I don't know, man.
You watched it on a little small screen. No, I was there in person.
All I have to say is, I can see, far away, I can see how people position themselves and how they lead up. And I thought, the fight was actually really good in the sense of all the promotion. It was like off the charts amazing.
Yeah.
And I thought a lot of the boxing world, it was really interesting to see how those worlds actually collided. And
Well, they all got respect from the boxing world with what they accomplished.
Oh, yeah.
They made millions of dollars.
well,
off of
I
this
look
fight.
at, like for me, it's like you had Mayweather, who
Yeah.
I think is the best promoter ever in the existence of boxing. Like Muhammad Ali was pretty good too, but it's like by far just really, really good at his craft, really good at the storytelling and the build up and so on. And then he just kicked everybody's butt. But in this case, I think they learned a lot. And I think they learned a lot of things that they did right and wrong in it. But to me, it felt like WWE. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I love WWE. They're great storytellers, but that's what it was.
I think a lot of it was because of the promotions up front. And I think that's probably what people correlate the two together, because there was a lot of Sheamus bragging and fighting back and forth and arguing. But if anything, it was very impressive. And it was a very historical it was a historical moment in our industry, showing the clout and the influencer. I mean, the influence
I think that was actually
that creators have.
I agree with that, and I think it's like one of the most pirated streams that actually happened on Twitch in a very long time.
Yeah, so we have our guest today was one of the geniuses behind this event.
Oh, so we could actually settle it.
We can go to the source and we can hear the theory. But we have Liam Chivers here, who is a good friend of mine. I've worked with for over 7 years in this industry.
Guess. He's the one that got you tickets to go.
Possibly. He possibly helped. I will not reveal that right here. I'm sure he doesn't want everyone knocking on his door. But I've worked with Liam for a long time. He's a pioneer in the influencer space. He was one of the first managers of YouTubers here in the UK, and he actually currently runs the biggest influencer management company in the United Kingdom.
Oh wow!
And the most profitable. And it's because he's not only just managed people and has sat around waiting for them to make money. He goes out and he makes things happen on behalf of his talent. And so we've worked with each other loads and loads of time. So we should definitely get some insight from him on your theories. Here we have Liam Chivers. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me, guys. Good to be here.
It's our
the
pleasure.
banter's real.
it is real. It is real. But the question is, what's the other part real?
That's the only reason I'm here, right? It was totally real, guys. I mean, listening to what you're saying about, it was more WWE than actual quality boxing. Correct, it was. These guys are huge entertainers with, at the time, 36 million, 37 million subscribers between each other. It's not because they're pro boxers. It's because they're entertainers, right?
And they know how to tell a story.
They want to punch each other.
And that evolved totally legitimately. KSI was very near the mark on the way he was winding Logan up, but that was part of the strategy. Weaken him in one way or the other, build the interest up. It wasn't just about promoting the fight. It was genuinely trying to get under each other's skins to see who is the king. You got the top guys in the UK and the US colliding. It was a wonderful moment and a wonderful build-up.
I actually thought it was brilliant marketing. I think it was marketing at its finest in so many different ways. Yeah. And so very well done, first off. It definitely grabbed the attention of all the internet, and the internet was looking at it. You had some even websites and blog posts that were nobody actually reads it, and they're covering the
100%.
footage.
It really crossed the mainstream first time of anything we've done.
Locally here, I was here a week before doing some work in our offices here in London, and everyone was talking about it. It was in all the press. I mean, it was the topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it wasn't back in the States as well.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, KSI is so big here in the UK. If you look at our population versus the US, and you think, wow, he's got the same amount of viewership in both countries, but how
Which
big
is crazy,
is
by the way.
I
I don't think that's ever happened before. I think he's one of the first creators to really build true mainstream status here.
Oh, 100%. He is the most recognizable star in this country, influencer or personality. I include
I thought
politicians.
Mr. Bean was the best, most recognizable star.
Well, if he walked down, Rowan Atkinson, maybe a certain age group might recognize him walking down the street. But you can't walk. He can't go anywhere. He's bodyguarded up to the max now. He can't do public transport.
Wait, I thought he could protect himself. Come on.
Yeah. Well, he's in the green room right now because we've got a performance on tonight, and his bodyguards are rather big.
Wasn't there experience after his Lamborghini song where when everyone or is able to recognize his Lamborghini and it became a problem?
Yeah.
Did he have to sell it?
He has sold it and he rewrapped it a couple of times.
Okay,
and,
that's so funny.
He did get a little bit, it became a bit impractical for him.
Well, okay. So first
the
off, like I'm always impressed when people are pioneers in their space, and like being in the United States, especially when YouTube's coming out, and you're seeing this opportunity. Like, what was the indicator for you? Like, hey, this is a viable direction, but also not only to do it, but across the pond, like here in the UK. Like, when was that moment for you?
Yeah, I'll try and do a fairly short version of the story. I get asked that a lot. It was about 7 years ago I got into this, and my background was always in sales. I was sales director of different companies in telecoms. Then I worked for the media giant Bertelsmann for a decade.
Right.
Now, I was sales director of their gaming division. Now, the gaming division wasn't the cool stuff. It wasn't making the games or developing games. Germans are well known for their manufacturing, right? Nuts and bolts, efficiency. And that's what we had. We had plants around the world, in the US, Brazil, obviously in Germany, which pressed discs, optical media. So CDs, DVDs, Xbox games.
So that was the gaming industry.
Yeah, so it started with laser discs and vinyl, records, cassettes, and then I joined the company when it was all CD was coming in, DVD-ROM, etc. But my role was with the gaming side, so I would work with all the big publishers, the EAs, the Activisions, Microsoft, you name it. And my role was really just to make sure our factories were full pressing their products. So we had a capacity of 6 million discs a day around the world.
Wow.
And that would be anything from a Robbie Williams CD to a PC game. So my focus was on the gaming side. So my background with that, it was great business. Luckily, I was on the gaming side, which was very physical media. I was there through the iTunes revolution when our audio colleagues disappeared. The Blu-ray transition didn't go well on movies. Obviously, all the different platforms and box offices and Sky and all these things for movies really ate away that market. So it all revolved around the gaming business. And you just thought at some stage, broadband speeds are going to be so fast, so readily available across the world, my business is going to disappear.
So you actually had that thought.
Yeah.
You're like, look, I see where the things are happening, especially with iTunes. And you're like, okay, if I want to...
I have to keep an eye out here. I'm at the top of my business. I can't go up my food chain anymore. I'm capped on earnings, on progression. I've got to look out for something here.
Yeah.
And so just being in the gaming world, it was always, I enjoyed games, but only at a time, say 10 years ago when I started having kids and not going out on a Friday night anymore, I would play video games with other young dads who had babies, who were babysitting while the wives went out on a Friday night. And it became a thing where I would play Call of Duty. Still a huge franchise, not number one anymore, but back then it was. And I would use YouTube for two reasons. One, for my job, to actually learn, what are the release schedules, what titles are coming up. So when I am talking to the EAs and the Activisions, I know what their games are about.
Right.
It's like going, you can't go into a field and not know what's happening, because I didn't want to miss a title. I needed to show an interest in their business. So I'd use it as a resource, as most people did back then and still do now. But equally, I'd also watch those same videos, but mainly Call of Duty videos, to get better at that game. So on a Friday night, I could kick the ass of these 30-year-old dads.
Oh, I bet.
Right. So that's what I used to use YouTube for those two reasons. And so I would watch these tips and tricks videos of these Call of Duty, and I would notice the same couple of top creators, which I didn't call them creators back then. They were just videos to me. I wasn't a fan of these guys. I literally was using the content
as a resource,
purely to get better at this game. But the more you watch it, the more you engage with those creators, you realize, well, I want to keep seeing this guy's opinion on this because I think he's better at the game, or he's got a better valid opinion than this guy, and you start judging the channels. But anyway, there was 2 or 3 bigger channels which covered the game back then. And as it happened, I went to an E3. Was it 2011 or 2012? I was at E3 in June that year. I've been to, I think, 15 E3s now and 17 Gamescoms across my joined career. And as you've been there yourselves, it's very, very business oriented. Okay, they're bringing in the public more now, but it was all suits and just business deals. So I was there one year, 2011, I think it was, and I had a meeting with Activision. I came off their stand, and I recognized one of the YouTube guys just literally loitering around the stand. He had ripped jeans and a T-shirt, stood out like a mile. Like the rest of the people are dressed like you right now. And I saw this guy. I thought, I recognize that guy. That's the YouTube guy I learned my tips from. And I was thinking, how the hell, what's going on here? And I looked at his name badge. I said, no, it can't be. He hasn't got his name. But I said, yeah, it is. He's got a fake name badge to get into E3 because he's not considered a journalist. He's not considered industry. Now the guys are running those shows.
Exactly.
But back then, they weren't even let in.
Yeah.
Because they were just kids in their bedroom making video, and they were not recognized.
That's
But
right.
I recognized this guy, and I saw him. And I said, hey, his name was Xjaws. He won't mind me saying. He's not a YouTuber anymore. He ended up working on social media with Justin Bieber and going on different directions and spreading out, but he's not he didn't want to be a YouTuber. He was in that really early stage where he got a lot of heat, a lot of, oh, you're just a geek in your bedroom and you're making videos.
Get out of your
go
mom's
and play
basement
sport.
type thing. Yeah.
So I think that got to him a little bit, and it was never his ambition. He loved gaming, and we just got chatting, and all he wanted to talk about was all the, what's going on at the E3 and the games industry, and we chatted, and he was like, wow, can we swap Skype details? Because I'd love to learn more about the industry, because I don't know anything about behind the scenes with gaming. I'm in the industry. All I do is play the games and make videos. I said, yeah, sure. I thought he was just being nice. I didn't expect to hear from him. But as we swapped Skype details on my phone, picked my phone up like this, and he noticed I had an iPhone case on the back of it. It was a Call of Duty iPhone case. I'd just been given it on the stand. It's worth like $2. But it was an E3 exclusive iPhone case. And he saw it. He goes, where do you get one of those? I said, Activision game. He goes, they never gave me one. I said, well, I've got a spare one in my bag if you want it.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, yeah, that'd be brilliant. I was trying to wonder why he cared so much. But then obviously it was because it was a Call of Duty item, and he wanted to show it off to his Call of Duty fan base of him being at E3. None of you guys are. No other creators are. I'm the one guy who's got in through the door here. Yep. And he had got a fake pass. He'd got it through his machinima network, actually. One of their employees gave it him.
That's crazy.
So we started chatting and we swapped, and he said, oh, what's your Twitter? I said, why do you want my Twitter? He said, I want to thank you for the iPhone case. I said, I don't know if I have it. I think I have a Twitter. Right?
What is a Twitter?
Yeah, what is a Twitter? I think everyone had one, but they didn't really use it. And, well, I didn't use it. I think I had one follower, maybe my wife. I literally didn't use it. I don't think I'd ever posted. But anyway, he tagged me in a tweet, and thanking me for the iPhone case with a post. He put hashtag E3 2011 or whatever it was. And I went from 1 to 601 or 701 followers within like minutes, like a few hours maybe. And I thought, what the hell's going on here? This guy, suddenly people are following me. For what reason? Because everyone wanted one of the freaking iPhone cases.
That's right.
Where do I get one? Right. How has Xjaws got one? Where can I buy one? You can't buy one.
Yeah.
But I'll get a few for Xjaws to give giveaways if you want, or T-shirts or whatever, because I know the publishers. And so it was really mad to see that sort of community. And of the people that followed me there, I noticed some of them were YouTubers. So I started following them, and not just going on YouTube, following them and what they were doing, keeping on top of their uploads and things like that, just for my own interest in the game Call of Duty. And so that was really crazy. So anyway, I had to rush off from a meeting. He was walking across the one of the halls to meet a guy I remember it vividly. There was a guy like sheepishly stood in the corner of E3 with a rucksack. I said, are you going for a meeting? Who are you going to see? Like none of the big exhibitors.
Right.
No, just this guy with a rucksack in the corner of the screen. I said, oh, well, cool. I'll hopefully hear from you soon. And he walked off. And then anyway, I was back home the following week, and I was on YouTube, and I was on his channel watching the Call of Duty videos, and popped up a video from E3. I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's see what he got up to at E3. Nothing. It's a bit of him vlogging, walking around, but the majority of the video is him doing an unboxing video. And that was an unboxing video of a new product which was given to him by that guy with the rucksack in the corner.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they won't mind me mentioning, it was a brand new company called Scuff Gaming. Now, Scuff Gaming are the biggest custom controller company in the world. All the major eSports teams in the world use their peripherals and their products. It's a controller which has enhanced technology, they say. It's got extra buttons and functionality to improve your speed of reaction, which is really important in a game like Call of Duty. So I saw this video. I think it got like 400,000 or 500,000 views, which back then was huge. He was on like 800,000 subscribers. As far as I'm aware, I think he was the top subscribed YouTube channel at the time. Gaming channel.
Ryan Higa.
Yeah, forget the originals. Yeah,
Yep.
I meant gaming. So he certainly the biggest Call of Duty channel, which was the biggest game, hence the biggest gaming channel. So I saw this, and he hit me up just randomly on Skype. Hey, lovely to meet you. I just found your details. It'd be lovely to chat to you about some commentary or stuff for my channel. Not for me being on it, just to help him, get an insight into things. I think he also wanted a few more freebies from games publishers as well, which
that's usually the case. People want a free handout.
Well, I said to him, that's cool. I said, well, by the way, can you hook me up with one of these controllers, these Scuff controllers? And I said to him, by the way, I saw that video, great video. The video is him in the stairwell of E3 with a put-you-up desk, and he put these 3 controllers on the desk, and he talked about it, and he reviewed this amazing new product. And believe me, that company took off overnight.
Oh, wow.
Like overnight. Everyone saw this and thought, wow, I can get an advantage in the game, which was the biggest game in the world. Imagine that happening now with Fortnite. It was the same thing.
Absolutely.
And so he hooked me up with Scuff, Duncan, the owner of Scuff, who'd be a great chat, actually. You should talk to him. He's seen the sort of eSports world develop, and they've been key to it. And so he hooked me up with one, and then we hooked up and arranged Sam to get an affiliate deal of sales from that video. Because I said to him, did you get paid for that video? It's incredible. Everyone in the world's talking about this. He went, no, I didn't get paid for it, but they let me keep the controller. And I thought to myself, that was not a good deal. That was not a good deal.
That's where the dollar signs are going.
I thought, that's not a good deal. I did feel I could have walked him around E3 for 2 days and introduced him to all these publishers and conference companies and done more little Scuff deals.
They might not have even known the value back then.
And they didn't.
There's a lot of selling that had to happen back then.
Absolutely. And so this was the start of that. And so I didn't do anything then at E3, but a couple months later was Gamescom, which is the next big show. And on the back of all these guys who are following me then on the Twitter,
it went from Twitter, like I don't know what this is, the Twitter, to
the Twitter.
The Twitter.
Yeah. Exactly. So of the people who follow me, one was now the most watched YouTube gaming channel in the world last year, Ali A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was the man in Call of Duty then.
Such a good person.
YouTube, not on Twitch, like Ninja, but on YouTube, he beat Ninja on views last year on YouTube. So he's the number 1 on YouTube. And so he followed me from that iPhone case tweet. And you could see him actively on Twitter, because then I started following these guys. They were all saying, well, how do I get to play the game early? When's the next chance? When are these conventions? Who gets to go to them? And people were chatting. So I just popped in the middle of the conversation. I work at Bertelsmann. We exhibit at Gamescom. Do you want some VIP tickets?
That's how you did it.
Do you want some passes? What? Yeah. I said, EasyJet flight costs 50 quid from England to Cologne.
Okay, so first off, it was the iPhone cases, and now it's like, hey, I got VIP passes.
Yeah.
Because it was a big deal.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, once we started taking gamers to E3, they were never invited before. Yeah. And they would give the brand so much love because they appreciated being able to have a voice and to be able to be there and experience the event.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ali, there was no ulterior motive. I wasn't thinking agent or anything like that at that time. I did do a few little things for XJaws just to test the water a bit, and I helped him with a couple of sponsorships, really low key ones. Elgato was one of the first. He was their first sponsor. They sponsor all of our guys now. I think I helped him with a headset deal as well. Just small, like a couple of grand deals here and there. And anyway, so I wasn't thinking, I just was enjoying being part of this Call of Duty community, because that was my game on a Friday night with my dad mates. And so it was like, I'm loving the fact that I'm engaging with these guys. And you can see then why people hook onto these guys. Now, I was older than them. I was not a young fanboy or anything like that. But I could still see how you engage and can relate to these incredible people who are on your screen, every day or whatever, watching their videos. So I was just keen to meet Ali and just have a chat. And because I was in the right place. It was easy for me. Yeah, come and get some passes. And so then the next thing was, let's talk to Activision. Make sure he gets a front of queue pass, because you've been to these things, right? If you're just in the public, you don't get to play it.
Right.
So we got him a ban from Activision. I talked to them they were aware of the YouTubers. They didn't really care about them at the time. They were starting to work in the eSports thing and the competitive scene, but they didn't really value the YouTube scene at that point. They did very soon after. But then they were quite happy. They were great, and they gave him a 3-day, basically a pass, all access pass on their stand. Wow. He sat and played the current Call of Duty, which was due out that fall, all day, every day for 3 days, and he was in an absolute element. He couldn't believe it. And in between that, I'd occasionally, in between my own business meetings, come and say hi and play a little bit myself in the lunch break. Yeah. And then we'd walk around.
I like how you say it, the lunch break, and your eyes like...
Yeah, right. That extended lunch break. Shh, Bertelsmann. But no, so we'd hang out a little bit there and we'd talk about, and I introduced him to people who I knew in the industry as I was just walking around. Like, some of them were gaming companies, and they liked him just explaining who he was and what he was doing there. And I found myself selling the guy to these people who wouldn't have ever considered who a YouTuber was, or rather than just a 16, 17-year-old kid in the bedroom, whatever it was. making videos, how can they be of any value to me? And so I just thought, well, I've got a bit of a position here in this industry, and I just started on my own, just talking to people generally. Anyway, by the end of the week at Gamescom, this is when it hit me. I've already had the wake-up call with the XJaws the Twitter, and obviously that side of things. And then suddenly I saw Ali was walking out. He'd never been to an event like this before, and he looked at me and he goes, wow, there's so much opportunity here. He looked at me, he goes, I need an agent. He literally said those words, I need an agent. He was joking a little bit, but then I thought to myself, that's it. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right place, right time. Come to probably to the end of that. I could have carried on till now and that other job just on, but I was always quite an ambitious person. You need
so you went all in then?
I went all in, yeah.
Like you literally just said, okay, I'm done with my job and I'm going for this.
Yeah, well, obviously in my spare time, I built it up. I built up my LinkedIn connections. Little black book came out. Yep. Sort of reached out. I needed to test the market, of course, a little bit with a few things. And within a month, we had a 3-year Allier Monster Energy deal. We had an Alienware annual sponsorship for him, all the peripherals. I thought, even that, with now he's fully loaded for the time being, even that's enough to leave now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then at that point, it's like, I'm off.
So if there's...
go ahead.
I was going to say one thing, like if there's one aspect of this industry that I'm really, really fascinated is gaming. Mm-hmm. And you're able to see a side of gaming that most people don't see. Yeah. And you were able to see it age and transform. Yeah. And what I find fascinating is what you were able to do is like you've been able to go to what you said, 15 E3s and really see the industry develop. Yeah. And the point, I mean, you were right at a pivotal point because the biggest thing where I truly believe where games truly exploded was, introducing these influencers. They got people interested in buying the game. And then the strategy clicked for them. And I think the gaming industry actually adopted the newfound influencer faster than what traditional brands have done.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember, those early days. And I remember right when you came into the scene because before that, we would be like having little message. I mean, what would happen is I'd talk to Allier or I'd talk to like Vicstar, the people that, you represent a whole load of them now, where we'd like just, hit them up and talk to them on Skype. And they were just seriously game for anything back then. And you really brought a lot of sophistication to the table to help them build their businesses and value. But I think a couple of things were happening in entertainment. One, this is where gaming started to soar, but it was also, a lack of what people wanted to watch. And when gamers first came out onto YouTube and started creating this, streaming content of them just reacting to the games that they're playing or giving tips and advice, it got a lot of people that were already in the industry looked down upon it. But really what was happening is TV wasn't able to supply this demand for content around gaming.
They tried to, but it wasn't the form. Like they had a couple channels that were designated for it, but it's like it wasn't the right format. It just really wasn't the right format.
No, and the gaming journalists who used to, basically run E3 and be the only outlet, they were the ones under threat. And look at them now. They could see it coming, and they really talked down upon, the integrity of the creators, and that's what we added as well.
Or even brands working with the creators.
Exactly,
it was a big deal back then.
Exactly, but it was all done in the right possible way to protect the creator, and it is even more so now because they are in such demand. There is such a path you can go to.
Absolutely.
The top guys know how to manage their audience and what to not do and to do, but you have to translate that to brands and educate them to know he's not going to do that for any money because it's not going to fit with his brand anymore. Yeah.
And I truly find fascinating this story for sure, but it's like the publishers of the games, the ones that actually jumped on and says, "Hey, this is an opportunity. Let's not be afraid of let people show gameplay." Yeah, because like that was like sacred territory to show
and some
gameplay.
Are still not there,
and it was like super sacred territory, and it's like the brands and the publishers that went on board, they're the ones that saw their sales skyrocket. Yeah, I know that you guys probably won't be able to talk about this, but it's like for me, one of the things was like Nintendo, like they're like, no, we want to own everything. We want to be able to protect this and so on and so forth. And it wasn't just as of late. They're like, okay, now let's open it up.
Yeah, no, Nintendo certainly are still behind, with the Japanese headquarters, the way they still, claim a lot of videos. They're not, they could do so much more. They are supportive on certain projects and brands, Pokemon Go, things like that.
Exactly.
They involve the creators, but in general, no, not at all. One of the biggest advocates and supporters of the business and the industry early on in terms of games publishers was a company you know real well, Ubisoft.
Yeah, they were the first.
They were probably the first. Yeah, there were other publishers dipping in, the EAs, and then others. Activision took a long time before they really.
Yeah, Activision was kind of set in their ways for.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, even now they're not, but they've
they
learned a little bit too late. Well, they learned. No, I'm not saying it's because of that, but they've learned a little bit late on even on Call of Duty, and they've been overtaken, haven't they?
Yeah.
Look at Fortnite and think. And I'm not going to go into the ins and outs, but they still assume someone like Ali would love to come to their events and capture. He hasn't got time. He's got videos to do. He's got brands. He's making a TV show. He's got a book to write.
Exactly.
He's not about that anymore.
And it's one of those things though where there has been like a divide in this industry, and it's whether is it PR or is it media, or content that you can scale with, and there were companies that went down the route saying, no, we're going to see this as PR. We're going to get everything for free. It's your privilege to work with us, not us working with you. And those were the brands that screwed up, and they're now really far behind because they could never manage deadlines when it came to working with influencers and creators.
There's no obligation, there's no contract, there's no payment.
They could never have the
responsibility.
Exactly. They could never make sure that the things that they knew that sold the game were going to be mentioned. And is a huge miss that a big chunk of them have missed, and now they're all starting to slowly crawl back and try to figure out how to do it because a lot of them have lost relevance. You have like the Ubisofts and the EAs that have been very innovative in the space that took lead because they did it first, and they also learned how to work with the creators in a way that didn't really piss off the audience, but it empowered the content.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Liam, I got a question for you because it's like for me, I have some assumptions of the future of how entertainment is, and I truly believe that eSports is just going to just take over everything. I really do. I think that there's some elements of it from your knowledge and your experience in the industry and how you've connected with creators and seeing that. Do you see it happening at a faster pace where EA Sports are going to double or triple the amount of exposure, or do you think they're kind of in an awkward period of plateau?
I'm not clear on esports. I'm not. And then the reason being is it's not necessarily, apart from certain top teams, it's not purely personality led.
Yeah.
People are fans of the teams, not the players.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And don't forget, esports is the upper echelon. It's the niche, small percentage of high-end game professionals.
Yeah.
YouTubers aren't gaming professionals. They're very good.
Right.
But they command the mass audience. So when you have the top YouTube guys, they've got to somehow harness them in the same way as a games publisher would to play the game to bring that audience over.
So I do believe the next iteration is, and I see where you're going with this. It's like the next iteration is the minor leagues or the local leagues. And I think that right there, I think we're going to see a lot more. I know that there's a lot of interesting IPs that are, popping up right now that are trying to take the esports, psychology and everything that's there, but take it on a local level where you can actually have city teams and national teams and stuff like that.
I mean, it's been there for a long time. There's leagues, in the UK we have Gfinity, they do online tournaments, they do live tournaments, and then you pull together and then you maybe get an influencer along to do some meet and greets and actually get people to fill up the stadium.
That's exactly what's been happening.
And there's one coming up which our friend Ali, again, he's declined because he's not in that scene anymore.
Yeah.
And actually when he's been to ones before, the real key, the sort of niche hardcore esport fan doesn't appreciate a YouTube influencer, I use the word influencer, YouTube personality, coming along and being the star attraction.
Sure.
There's a lot of hate, not hatred, but there's a lot of, there's a
Is
wall.
it kind of a disconnect?
There's a disconnect. And that's where things need to cross over. And what is the interest of the YouTuber to drive their traffic to esport? How do they benefit apart from being paid to do it as a one-off thing or being an ambassador in a role?
Right.
And then is it really of their interest?
Yeah.
So in terms of that they need to answer that equation. Equally, you might say, well, we don't need that. The esports is growing on its own accord and it's going to, exponentially grow anyway, regardless. And it may well do. How then that translates to branding? It's just, at the moment, it's just badging. It's like our boxing. It's just, the event itself is just logos on a ring, on an ad board, on the, that's all it is. The real branding and the real finances come behind when you're actually making content with the creator. So take the boxing again. It's sponsoring KSI, and his journey to the event is way more valuable than him just having a logo here or them sitting on the canvas. Because that's just a video, isn't it?
Right.
That's just the equivalent of a KSI video. So it's the same with eSports. I see these teams; they're badged up to the max. I mean, some of them are making strides in terms of streaming, and on YouTube you've got the Optic guys in Call of Duty who I know fairly well.
And I think maybe the way I look at it too is like, yeah, there's the badging, and that's been overdone and in the sports world. But then too, it's like, is there ways to integrate the content? Because like there are companies that sell homes that are now sponsoring teams, so they can actually house them all together, and then they can start creating content in one place instead of being spread apart all over the place.
I think right now it's a buzzword.
Yeah.
Like you have
everyone wants a piece of it, but doesn't know how.
You know what it is?
It's still the wild, wild west when it comes to esports, and it's becoming mainstream. It's going to get bigger and bigger. But there's a lot of brands out there that are outside of gaming. They're all like, okay, I want to be in esports. That's what I want to do. Yeah. But they don't know what the hell's going on with distribution or like how to get views and how to really engage with those audiences. And I think what's going to happen, similar to what you just said, I think there's going to be a lot of creators that want to diversify their revenue, and they're going to have teams. So you have Ninja. He has a professional team. You have a Sean Duras.
That's right.
He has a professional team. And I think that's going to happen a lot more. And there's going to be a bigger demand to have, documentation and content around those teams and have them become more as a form of entertainment. But when it comes to gaming content, 95% of that content is influence or gaming creators and influencers. Yeah. That's where all the content is.
Exactly. And they're building up the momentum. They're like, okay, we're,
esports will not thrive until the two are together and merge together. And that's going to be, having someone like a Ninja become a competitive player, which, he is, but also, having, influencers invest into the e-games and the esports.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, even KSI, just seeing Drake investing in, the 100 Thieves guys with Nature, all that going, goes, do you think I should invest in a team? I'm like, no, I don't know if you should. I mean, you can do it, Yes, you've got a bit of a paycheck recently.
I've been looking to invest. I'm trying to find a team right now. Like, I really am, because there's so much money to be made.
I play a mean game of Mario, man. Like, seriously.
Well, no, I'm always, because like there's so much talent out there. I think there's a lot of money to be made. Tell us more about your business and how you grew it, because I feel like that's a very inspiring story. Yeah. So you started working with Ali A, and then you worked with KSI, and then all the sidemen. You want to tell us how that evolved, and then let us know like what happened. What was the outcome?
Jeez. Yeah, you're right. We talked a lot about gaming here, but our roster, our talent, they're not just gamers. They're great widespread influences of lifestyle, of sport, of gaming, of tech, of fashion, whatever it be. They are icons they're the modern mainstream. That's what they are, the modern mainstream celebrity now, the really top guys. So they've transcended gaming, and even the likes of certainly KSI. It was about a month after we started working with Ali. We met him at the next convention and chatted. And he saw what we were doing with Ali, and he was obviously, hey, I want a piece of this. But we went off on a completely different tangent. And my background, don't forget, I knew the gaming world, but it was sales. Yeah. It was doing deals. It was business structures, and so that's what came into play.
Which was an advantage for you, because that's really new to Hollywood and entertainment. Yeah. To have somebody that actually has a sales background and figures out, okay, instead of waiting for business to come in, I'm going to go out there and build business.
Yep.
Exactly, and it was a case of, okay, we've got a few guys to focus on here. Those two names in particular. What do they want to do? Ali was purely gaming, and he's a brand golden boy because he's so, well-spoken, clean-cut, family-friendly, and so he obviously had a great attraction to brands. But we turned down 95% of these brands because it has to be an interest, a fit, and something he would actually use. And that's why we went down those routes with him and protecting that image.
And with that said, my team at least
find it quite hard.
Five deals to do a year with him, which I'm very proud of, because he's becoming more and more picky.
Yeah, has been for a while. He's a busy guy,
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, just to jump to the end of where we are now, I'll come back to your question, but just take him for example. People still would think, oh, he's a Fortnite guy. He's a gamer. That's all he does. No, He's just been nominated for an International Emmy Award for his first TV presenter show,
Yeah.
his own show.
Yeah.
He's had a
he
number one selling book. He's that's nothing to do with gaming. Yes,
and he's always done a variety of games, from Call of Duty to
not
Minecraft.
so much now, but obviously he has these other peripheral things. But then that takes you to KSI on a whole different level of entertainment, of music, chart-topping albums. He's obviously boxing, whatever he wants to do. It's like, okay, well, let's do it. But someone like that, he is all or nothing. You can't do a brand deal with him. It doesn't matter what you pay unless it's absolutely perfect and it fits, which is great integrity for him, and that's just the way it is. And then equally, you just got to get the buy-in of that journey. So he's got a wonderful sponsor at the moment, Foot Asylum, he's a big fan of their brand. They're a leading apparel sports retailer in the UK. Great, all of his. It's a perfect fit match where his audience, they spend their Saturday afternoons hanging out in these stores, getting the new trainers, the new gear, and they now sponsor him, and they did his whole journey of boxing from obviously kitting him out with all the latest and greatest gear, but equally making content for their channels, which they grew and started off the back of KSI's audience, and now they have their own social platform, they have their own Instagram stories, they have their own YouTube channel where they're making content featuring him. So it's all about, yes, he's got to wear stuff exclusively over competitive, but he equally is just doing cool stuff with them, which just makes their brand look fantastic.
So I got to ask this because it's like when you go the gaming route, you had a little black book that you mentioned, and you're building up that profile. How do you even go a completely separate direction?
I literally just thought which brands would fit these guys. I went down the energy drinks brands, I went down all the tech brands. KSI took me down the sport brands as well because he did FIFA and the soccer and then the Sidemen.
And you just like reaching out on LinkedIn, or how are you getting this?
Yeah, literally LinkedIn, Googling them, literally on the phone. I was cold calling.
Yeah,
because that's what
hey,
no, I was a quite good.
I got a guy on these YouTubes.
No. You ever heard of KSI? No, sorry.
Well, this is the thing about Liam, especially those early days, and even today. If you're in Los Angeles and he's in London and it's end of day Los Angeles time where it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, he will wake up and join a call. I mean, all the time.
Probably still awake, actually.
Always hustling, always getting stuff done.
Yeah.
You built your business to a point where you sold it. Want to tell us about that and like how you sold it and like what inspired that decision?
This was my first business. I've always worked for big multinationals and been that sort of corporate guy. And I wanted out of that, hence why we did this in the first place.
Right.
I sold OP to Endemol Shine Group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, huge,
I didn't know
a TV company, right?
Yeah.
A TV production company, which seems really odd because not many of our guys want to be on TV. They're their own broadcasters. But there's placements in TV, obviously like Ali's show and a few things JJ and other guys have done. And we're always in talking about production, but these TV things don't tend to happen because there's not as much money in it as there would be if these guys just spent that entire month working on YouTube videos. But how did it come about? Well, we worked with Endemol on their digital content and a few YouTube channels, a gaming show, and an active sports channel we placed KSI for called Rulem Sports, which was him just going out trying these mad sports with sports stars and just adding comedy to it and him just pretending he's not very good at it and just flapping about. Now he's a pretty good athlete, but back then he wasn't. So we knew them and we'd worked on and they'd done a few sort of brand placements on here and there and a few TV things as well. So we knew them pretty well. But how did it come about and why did we sell? Well, it was 3 years ago, which is a long time ago in this industry. And a lot of people, and even myself, look at it now and I go, shit, that was really early to do this. But it's a deal or no deal thing, right? The TV show, it's a case of who knew 3 years ago where we'd be now? I had an inkling and a hope, but I also thought, well, I need to scale in terms of not just the reputation of a business, of a one-man band, a company like that with their resource, their legal, their PR, their finance, it's there ready-made. I haven't got to go and recruit that. So that's great. That's there. We're now plugged into an incredible beast, which would be very supportive. So that was a real positive to scaling rather than doing it personally. I'd never run a business myself before, so I didn't have that nous of how to do that properly. I didn't have the contacts in legal, in finance, in HR to build my own business. And I felt, well, I don't have time to do that because I'm working 24/7 with these guys. So that was one thing. It was a quick, fast track to big business status. Not that we've built the business in terms of signing masses and masses of talent. We could sign hundreds of talent. Every week I'm getting tens of YouTubers. Oh, please check my channel out. Oh, I see what you do. Everyone regards OP Talent in the space as the top guys, particularly in the UK, and everyone wants to work with us. But it doesn't matter to me if we have 1,000 creators or the 23 we have. Now, 23 doesn't sound a lot in the size of YouTube, but that means...
But they're massive creators.
They're massive creators, and we like to feed them.
Yeah.
If we double we could have twice the amount of creators, twice the amount of staff or talent managers and project managers, but not necessarily do any more business because people can only do so much anyway. So we only sign talent which we like, we've met, or it's a little bit of a networking thing. Like it's gone from one guy who knew his pal, who knew the friends, and it's gone a little bit like that in the UK. It's everybody knows each other in the UK community pretty well. It's quite a small, tight-knit industry. It's a little bit more broken up in the US, so I would have found it a little harder that way. But yeah, so selling to them it was them at the right time. I definitely, if we were selling now, the business is worth a whole lot more. But it doesn't matter. You take these opportunities, and for me at the time,
creates more
not
growth.
To go into personal reasons and family. It was pretty much needed to help my family.
I look at it this way. Yes, it could have been. You could have made a lot more money if you would have held out. But the reality is, exactly, you could have literally lost everything because you weren't able to take care of the needs of the time. Yeah. And you saw the writing on the wall in a couple of key areas where you didn't have a lot of experience. So it's really interesting. But I don't know. I find it fascinating. That first off, that you're able to pivot and going to a completely different vertical and to build that, and you hustled to do that. But do you feel like you can kind of see the pulse of what's happening, in the US, and then know that you have a couple months or a year to get things adjusted here? Do you kind of look at those trends, or is it hitting at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our creators, they're the biggest in the UK mainly, but they've all got, apart from some, which are just crazy big in the UK, they've all got massive US audience. In fact, bigger.
They're some of the biggest in the US.
Yeah, I mean, Ali, in fact, right now we manage, if we go back to gaming, one of our guys, Jelly, who's just hit 11 million subscribers, for the last 8 weeks in a row, he's been the most viewed gaming channel in the US.
Oh, crazy.
He lives in Monaco and Spain and Holland. Yeah, successful guy.
Good tax haven.
Monaco, yeah. So
that's right.
So who's your new account? No, we were saying we need to set you up like proper tax and finance again. Our finance guys are pretty hot, and they're like, "Oh, so who's your new account over there?" He goes, "I don't need one anymore." It's like, it's me. I mean, it's like, shit.
It's called Monaco.
Why don't we all live there? Yeah. Yeah. So, but he is the biggest in the US, but he's Dutch speaking, English.
Yeah,
English-speaking Dutchman. Yeah. So yeah, we are in touch. The internet is global. It doesn't matter what goes in the US, and it happens in the UK. This is the beauty of what we do, right? So it's
absolutely.
And as long as you're prepared to work on those hours, which I end up doing, like you say, then you're fine. You can cope.
Yeah, you being just very specialized and staying focused is really what I think made you successful. I mean, of course, and working hard. Yeah. I mean, because you have the biggest talent agency when it comes to creators and YouTubers in the UK, and it's also the most profitable, and that's just something to be that's very impressive, especially with I mean how long this industry has been around. It's been I mean probably a decade, a little over a decade, and you came in and you just like surpassed everyone. When all the MCNs were pissing off all their talent, you just kept growing faster and faster and faster. Yeah. So there's always controversy. Always. In the news around creators and influencers, and some of your talent has had controversy. How do you deal with that as a manager, as also as an agent? Like, what do you do like during those hard times to make it so everyone has good morale and you keep pushing ahead?
I mean, you're talking about KSI here, right?
Well, I don't know.
No, we don't know.
23 people. I mean, it could be any of them.
It could be. No, you're talking about him, right? No, you just literally you have to back your guy, and I think ultimately when. It was 5, 6 years ago when JJ went through a few issues with content, and it was only because he was becoming so successful. And he was such a threat to the mainstream and the journalistic world. They were the people who were poking fingers at him. But equally, he was a young kid on YouTube when these things he did, slightly dodgy content here, a little bit thoughtless here, misogynistic there. This was a 17-year-old boy before he was famous.
Right.
Now, I know everyone picks and looks at old people's tweets and bits and pieces. He doesn't really have much of that. Something might come out, but it's always been in the KSI character. So he's known as JJ to us and his friends. He built this character, which was an outlandish character, You've met him. He's the loveliest guy. He's got more time for his fans. He's an absolute gem of a guy. And therefore, you're going to back the guy because he's genuinely, awesomely lovely. And that's fair. He's a wonderful guy. So when these things happen to you, you basically, you just got to get around them and protect them and try and put it in perspective to the finger pointers that this is insignificant. And, you put the messaging out like, well, this is him now, that was that then, but that's really, you don't be rude and say, well, that's bullshit, that's nothing. Let's ignore that. You can't brush it on the table. You have to action it and appreciate it. And as long as JJ accepts it and JJ knows what happened and he learns from it, then you can totally get behind him. If he goes, screw it, I don't care, and does it again, sometimes people have slipped, but, deep down, that's not, he's not this guy, and you just got to back these guys for the long term. Yeah. It's...
So that sense of loyalty is like being lost, I feel like, in the world of business. Like people are like, oh no, I'm going to go with whatever is most popular or whatever. Right. So very to be commended on that one for sure. My question though is, have you learned anything from these creators? I mean, you're working with 23 of some of the most talented creators in the world. Have you learned anything from them that made you better at your craft in selling and marketing these people?
Have I learned from them? You just get mesmerized by the variety of their talents, and obviously you're talking about JJ again. The way he whatever he does it to the max. Whether it is music, whether it is YouTube, whether it is sport, whether it is boxing, whatever it be. And all you can do is just stand. You don't stand back. You go along with it, and you just got to help him amplify it and set those roots down to protect him. And you just basically, with a guy like that who knows what he wants and goes and gets it, you just basically got to go around along for the ride as protect him and bubble wrap, and that's it. If you direct him in the right direction and you support it and help him monetize in those areas, it's a great ride. So you're learning as you're going along. You take the boxing. I know we've talked about it a lot already, but the people I'm rubbing shoulders with in boxing, I know, Espinoza at Showtime, Eddie Hearn in these guys are inviting me ringside to these fights because they don't know what they want out of the space, but they know they want to be involved with it because
they're like, this looks really cool.
So how do these guys do 1 million pay-per-view buys and these guys don't even fight? How do we get a piece of this?
Were there any
we don't need
broken?
them because we don't need promoters because the YouTubers are the promoters.
Are the promoters
you don't need a
themselves.
promoter.
Yeah.
As long as we can set up the content and the strategy and the distribution properly and obviously the deals to monetize that. Who needs a promoter? You're saying about, again, the WWE. This is why these guys are popular. They are sales guys. They don't know it, and they don't mean to be it, but they are just personalities.
They understand. They're entertaining, and they understand the storyline for sure.
Exactly. So they are the promoters, and you're not paying for promotional value. I mean, just look at the stats on the box. Even before the Logan JJ fight, the Joe Weller KSI fight. This is what started it all. This is all Joe Weller's fault, who we manage as well, by the way. So that was a tricky.
So this is like an internal thing.
That was real. I literally just lift those guys for 6 months and just okay, I'll turn up on the night and make sure it works all right, and the stream's working. I forget what I was saying about Joe. Sorry.
It all started with the Joe Weller fight.
Oh yeah, so the numbers. So you look at the marketing behind it and the promotion, etc. So these guys just promoted themselves on the YouTube, on their channels with some content, some trailers, whatever it be. The stream for the concurrent viewers for Joe Weller versus KSI was the second highest concurrent stream in the history of YouTube.
So the first one was Red Bull,
who spent $65 million on marketing to jump from the moon or whatever.
And the other one was two guys that record themselves doing things that were promoting themselves.
Fighting each other.
The only time anyone has ever beaten in that fight was because they had $65 million spent to tell everyone about it.
That is crazy.
That's amazing. Were there other records that were broken? Because I know the boxing community.
Well, it's the most watched white collar boxing. Of course it was.
Okay.
The streaming record for the Joe fight. Obviously, it was the very first pay-per-view sporting event of its kind.
And it's
from
probably
YouTubers. Yes, there's been sporting events on YouTube. There's been other boxing matches on a low level. The platform is there, but. I mean, it's just...
It probably broke the record of the most, the most pirated live
stream. 100%.
Sure.
100%. Yeah, definitely more people watched it
on Twitch
than watched it and paid.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing we're working on for the next one, which is why we're in no rush to get this rematch done, because as soon we need that sorted. Whether it be a big broadcaster who takes care of that, takes some of the risk of that, great. If it's on YouTube again, well, we need to be coming down a little bit stricter in advance on the likes of
Exactly.
Twitch, but not just coming down on them, but equally building that relationship, because they know they came out bad on this and they look terrible. You know, their reputation was shot, and it still gets they still get the Mickey taken out of them now. We know they don't realize we actually have that content, that fight from the Logan KSI. It's copyrighted. It is registered. They have illegally shown it.
Yeah.
But what do you do about it? Do you go down the route of doing that and spending millions to get a little bit back, or do you work with that for the next time? And the answer is working with them. So there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Sure. So what are you most excited about right now? Like, what do you think is going to happen next in our industry?
I'm excited about individual things. It moves too quick to think ahead of where we're going to be next year. Who would have thought like Fortnite was this, or diss tracks were a thing, or whatever.
Right.
What am I excited about right now? A couple of things. Obviously, we're here doing we're at VidCon today, and KSI is doing some music tonight, and we're going to be taking that on tour around Europe and the UK between April and July. That's being announced tomorrow, so this will come out after that. So, that's going to be huge. Some Endemol, we're producing it ourselves. Endemol, the production company, is going to be on a great level, very high-end production. That we're going to document it and look to sell that somewhere, whether it be YouTube, MTV, whoever wants it, or just go online, sell it on iTunes and DVD again, like you did in this documentary for the boxing. So that's exciting. Another journey, new album coming out as well for that. Other exciting things, just fun projects which are outside the day-to-day. Obviously, the bread and butter is the brand deals. Whether it be from launching a Porsche car like we've done last year to KFC to I think we've done about 4,000 brand campaigns in 7 years now. We've done it all, and we'll continue to do it. So that's not going to stop. Does that excite you from day to day? As long as it's a slightly different piece of content and a brand is always willing to work with you to push the boundary in an area and building with the content, it's always fun. It's always unique. It's always bespoke. I keep getting asked for, what's your rate card for this guy? There's no such thing.
There's no rate card.
There's no two deals the same. So that keeps it interesting, right? And that's the fun of and obviously the evolving platforms from Instagram to obviously YouTube and wherever we may go. We'll just follow the trends. And that's just as simple as long as these guys are popular and they support those platforms, there's a business there. But in terms of other things, there's some I'll probably forget to mention some, but obviously we've just, Ali's second TV show on BBC just came out last weekend. Wow. The guy is an incredible presenter.
It's not about cars, is it?
It's cars, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
He loves cars.
He's basically, it's basically Pimp My Ride for families.
That's so
for a
Pimp My
younger
Ride
audience.
for families.
Yeah. So the kids say, my dad's car sucks. It's falling apart. And then Ali gets his team into the garage and they do a makeover on the car. Then the parents come in and the kids go, voila.
That is epic.
So that's the it's called I'm Not Driving That. That's on BBC iPlayer right now. So that's fun.
It's two worlds are just
fun.
emerging.
It is so exciting.
And it's an Endemol production as well, so we're in great hands there. Now, Ali didn't do that for the money of doing that.
But he did it for the love.
For the brand, for the fun, the entertainment, getting out the bedroom, getting out from games. I mean, he does a lot of traveling anyway.
Right.
I'm not kidding. He's just this month he's been doing deals and promotions in Dubai, New York, everywhere. He's going off with the Formula E soon as well. So there's lots of stuff he does, but it's one of those sort of projects which is more of it is a CV builder. It is a mid-term, long-term, keep it in your back pocket. But equally, it is just something, I just fancy doing that. It's 12 days of my time over the course of 3 months. I can do this. And the beauty with him is he's so confident in it too. He's as good a TV presenter as any TV presenter because he's used to being in front of this mic all day, every day. He takes one take for virtually every scene. Because if he doesn't do that on his own videos, he doesn't get a video out that night.
Exactly.
So when you're on these sets with these seasoned TV hosts and guests on the show, and they're going, I'll go again. Oh, I said that wrong. It's like, Ali's there going, dude, he's not saying it because he's too polite, but you can see it's like, and the amount of full day shoots that have been put in front of him, and he's been out of there by lunchtime because he just smashes it.
That's awesome.
But equally, we realize in this country, unless you are Jonathan Ross, Graham Norton, or Jeremy Clarkson, the three big TV hosts, with your own production company, with your own Saturday night show, no YouTuber of Ali or JJ or any of these guys' size is going to make more money on TV than they do on YouTube. So most guys don't care less about it.
Yeah.
But it has to be, some guys want to be on radio, some guys can't be bothered, some guys want to write a book, some guys still haven't written one because they can't be bothered. They know it's a lot of effort and you have to go and tour around the bookshops for a few weeks. It's just too much for them. Some guys have nothing to write about. It's, it's all what it is.
But they can talk about it on the video, right?
And do a podcast or do a video, and monetize it.
Well, Liam, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on this podcast. And what I love about your story is that you're able to see an opportunity. You saw the writing on the wall, and you literally took action in the sense of, hey, I'm going to just jump right in, both feet. And then you actually looked at ways to transform yourself in the industry and become an industry leader.
Yeah, and to scale it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to start a business. It's another thing to grow one. And you're able to come into gaming and really see an opportunity and make something happen out of it. And you will always be a pioneer in this industry. And so it's a great thing to.
But it's ever it never stops, does it? It's educate every day. There's a new generation coming into it every year. The people coming into the companies, the brands, they are the people who are watching the videos now. So over time, and now it is going to get easier and easier, of course, in educating this space. But there's still people every day still in the old school. Still need
you remember going into meetings where they'd be like, well, that content sucks. It's like, well, it's not about the content. It's about, well, it is, but it's about how much the audience loves it.
Yeah, but no, the difference is you're not their audience. So
exactly.
You're trying to sell to the audience.
Right.
Thank you so much, Liam, for coming on. And thank everyone for watching this podcast. You can actually find all our podcasts online at creativedisruption.com.
Right.
Thanks for coming on.